Welcome to True and Unpolished, the podcast, a Cusp culture production. Through this podcast, our intention is to uplift, inspire, and amuse.
Let's get authentic. Hello, it's Lydia. No, not Lydia. It's Lydia. That is wrong. It's Lydia.
And this is Mary.
We're starting that again. Okay, hold on.
Wait, I liked it.
No. All right, we'll keep it. All right, guys, we're keeping it. So you just heard our mess up, and who cares? But so it's Lydia, everybody, and
today, this is Mary.
And this is Mary. Look at how seamless that was. What we are talking about today is disappointing people. So I took a vacation a short time ago, and it was the first time I had a vacation time off since the summer of 2019, everybody, since the summer of 2019. And this is the time of COVID. So it's not, my vacation was a staycation. I did not go anywhere, but I took the time off. It was over the Thanksgiving holiday, and I did not talk on the phone from Thursday to Sunday at all, except for twice, 15 minutes each, both to family, to say happy Thanksgiving. That was it. And that is a huge, huge thing for me, everybody, because my life is on the phone. I mean, many of you probably have that too. I mean, with working remotely, my life is on the phone. It's either Zooms or telephone calls. And I prefer telephone calls, honestly, because I don't always want to do my makeup, everybody. So it was awesome. It was this time without the phone. And what that meant is the very next week, I was so behind. You know, when you put the out of office message on your email, and then you get back and there's like a bunch of email. And I had like shot off a bunch on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday before going on vacation because I wanted to get all this stuff done. But what that meant is all kinds of people were responding to the stuff that I'd sent out.
The worst part of vacation is that don't get a vacation because all your work piles up.
That's right. Exactly. And that's true for everybody, right? So I got back from vacation and was digging out of all of that. And I have felt now for weeks like I am behind. And when I say behind, what I mean is I feel like there's always somebody that I am letting down in some way. And most often that way is because they want to talk to me and I haven't talked to them yet. Like I'm on the phone constantly and have been on the phone constantly since getting back from vacation. And still there's always somebody that is wanting to talk to me that I haven't gotten back to yet. And so I have this chronic feeling. And I said to Mary, like last week, I'm like, and I said this to my husband too. I was like, is this just me, or am I attracting situations in my life where I feel like a disappointment to people? Because in disappointment, maybe that's the wrong word. The word is letting people down. Like I feel like I was letting people down. And I got to this space where
are you attracting people? I think the short answer is yes. We attract, the people that we attract the kinds of relationships that are going to bring up the issues that we need to work on. Right? That's
right. So, and I was trying not to put it on the people. What I'm saying is, am I attracting situations in which I disappoint? And I think what you did is you reframed that and you went, wait a minute, are you attracting people who are disappointed in you? And I guess the answer is yes and no. I mean, some of the people I was just projecting, like it was my feelings of inadequacy that I was deciding that they felt that way, when in truth it was I was feeling like the turnaround. I was disappointing me, not because I wasn't calling them, but because I was judging myself as being a disappointment.
Ooh, you had an aha.
I did have an aha. Did y'all feel
a little bit of insight?
Yes.
So I one of the things that I wanted to talk about is how there is a level of unconsciousness in all of our relationships. And I think for those of us who are helpers, I've been an art therapist and coach for over 20 years. And so in my work, in the helping profession, I've come across a lot of people, professional people, who have what I would refer to as like a savior complex.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's, first of all, recognizing that no matter how smart we are, knowledgeable we are, wise we are, connected we are to source, there is always some level of unconsciousness in me. And so owning that, not in a sort of self-defeating way, but just recognizing that it is also a part of me. And if I tend to get overly attached to being a helper, then what happens is then I fall into this savior kind of role. Yeah. So it's my job to save other people, and it's my like they can't do it without me.
Yeah.
They don't have the skills. They need my help.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So becoming aware of if there's any kind of that self-talk going on. And for me, what was happening is that the self-talk that goes like this. They won't know that you care about them, Lydia. Like, so for me, it's about, I want them to know that I care. So, even Mary, with you, right? Like, I know that to a really large extent, that I care about you. And if I'm not showing up, it's because I can't. And even then, like after a certain amount of time, you feel like, hello,
right?
Can I have some time? So the people that you care about. So that's my thing. It's like, how do you have people, all kinds of people in your life that you care about, and then always let them know that you care about them? And I think that
I don't think that's possible.
Right. Yes, that is not
and
possible.
I mean, one of the things, Lydia, that you and I've kind of talked about over the years is how I have I've had a lot of friends, like always, until really recently, in the last couple of years, 3 or so years, my friendships have sort of, the number of friendships have really gone down dramatically from any other time in my life, where I had many, many friends, a large amount of those being people that I would confide in. Right. And so one thing that I've learned recently is that that's not sustainable.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, and whereas your friendships, I think, are more, you have smaller numbers of friendships.
That's correct.
And you can talk about that, but
I still think it's a large number. Like, I feel like it's getting too big. Because I recognize that, there's only a certain number of people that you can show up for consistently, regularly, in a real way. And so I think the work becomes to set, parameters and boundaries, and like be upfront with people. Like, one of my favorite stories is when I tell people about, at the beginning of Christy and I's friendship, which is pretty recent friendship. And I realized that we were becoming friends, and I was like, oh, wait, I need to tell you something. Like, I'm not a good friend. I'm going to be bad at this. I just want you to know, like, you're going to think that I should know to call you at some time, and I'm not going to think to call you at that time, and I won't do it. And so, like, I totally, like, set it up. And then Mary lovingly helped me to reframe that and say that that is actually not true. I am a very good friend. So it's not that I'm not a good friend. It's that I'm going to disappoint you. You know what I mean? So can we just agree that I'm going to disappoint you and you're going to disappoint me at some point? If we're going to be, friends in any kind of real way, that's going to happen. Right. And I think that's what I get when I hear you talking about certain level of unconsciousness in every relationship. If we're disappointed, we're unconscious, because when we're conscious, we can't be disappointed by what's.
And it's not just disappointment, but what about attachment?
That's it.
So, like expectations,
yes.
Like on my end. So if you're disappointing me, then that part may be on you, because you're not following through with something you've agreed to, or you are.
No. What you mean is if I disappoint you,
right. And okay. So listen, I was right. I think I was right, but maybe
you said it reverse, but go.
Okay. So if you disappoint me, then your job is to look at, okay, well, did I follow through with what was asked of me? Am I being truthful? Am I being true to what, we've kind of agreed upon? Yeah. But on the flip side, I have to be willing to look at, am I overly attached? And so an example of something that you and I have done for a long time is, if I'm feeling really like I need to talk to you, then I'll call you. But there have been many times where you haven't answered my call. And so, an old way of kind of being stuck in that unconscious pattern is I would ruminate, why isn't she answering? Why is she not getting back to me? But a conscious way of being in relationship with somebody is saying, okay, there must be something else or someone else, or maybe I'm meant to handle this on my own. So
it's about, right. So it's attachment in general. Like, am I attached to you feeling like I'm showing up for you? Because that's where I was. So if my self-talk goes, they're not going to know I care. They don't know I care. Then I am attached to you perceiving me as caring for you, right? That's attachment, because I can't control whether you feel like I care about you or not. Like, I'm not going to always do it right. I'm going to do something that's going to bring up with you and from within you a feeling of she doesn't care. Like, it's bound to happen, right? I can't be responsible for that. I can only be responsible with how I show up. And in that example too, if I've done something to disappoint you, owning that and saying, okay, am I doing something to disappoint them? Okay, if I didn't follow through with something, and forgiving myself for it, because I'm not going to be perfect. So am I attached to being the perfect friend? Am I attached to showing up for you in a perfect way?
I guess what I'm kind of thinking about is, I wonder if there's two types of people who feel like they're disappointing other people, and people who feel like others are always disappointing them. Because I really can't relate to what you're saying about disappointing. I mean, I don't think that way. That's not true. I do have that feeling that I've disappointed people sometimes, and I can feel guilt about that. So it's not completely true, but I know I ruminate about how disappointed I am. And that's something when I work with clients that I always, I not always, but I frequently notice, them telling me stories about how somebody has disappointed them, and kind of digging in and staying stuck in that disappointment.
Which keeps us in victim consciousness. Well, the thing is that, it's probably true that we can spend more time on one or the other, and if I can be in that space of being stuck on feeling like I am disappointing someone. And if you can be, that means that I can just as easily oscillate and go to the other side and have you feel like you're a disappointment, because it's all ego, and that's what the ego does. It bounces back and forth from inferiority to superiority. You know what I mean? And really, they're really the same thing. You know, whether I feel inferior or superior, it's all ego. So,
well, I guess, and I completely agree with that. And also I was just kind of thinking that we have the stories that we tell ourselves. So your story is more, I'm going to disappoint them.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And then maybe my story is more like,
you're going to disappoint
why
me.
is everybody always disappointing me?
Yeah.
You know, why is everybody letting me down?
Yes. And I think one of the antidotes is to find where the opposite is true. So I'm
the prover.
What's that? What'd you say?
The prover.
Prover, right. So, right, exactly. So I can find where the opposite is true. I'm disappointing everybody, you know, where I'm not a disappointment. Where can I find can I find one example where I'm not a disappointment to this person? Yep, there's an example. If you can find one, that's what Byron Katie says. If you can find one, you can find two. And if you find two, you can find three. And if you can't find three, then you see that the opposite is at least as true as what you were thinking, and it dissipates. So then if you're feeling like, why is everybody disappointing me? Find, you know, an example where that's not true, you know, especially with the other person. And that's why, you know, that's where the evolved relationship comes in. It's like, I can't be attached to your side of things. Like, you've got to do your thing and I've got to be responsible for mine. And sometimes what happens is there's moments in relationships where somebody is not willing to look at their stuff, you know, to own what is their part in it. And when that happens, we can't make someone see it. You know, you can't make me see it. I can't see it until I can see it. And so in those moments, there might be, you know, pauses in an evolved relationship. And that goes back to what you were talking about, Mary, where you said, you know, even in evolved relationships, there are moments of consciousness and unconsciousness. And, you know, my work is to stay in my lane and to be willing to own my part, to look at what my part is, and allow you the space and freedom to do the same.
Well, and I think sometimes in, you know, what you're talking about is you feel your statement is, I'm disappointing people.
Right.
Then what we do, that's where the savior thing comes in, is we try to so there's an overcompensating and undercompensating. So overcompensating is what happens when I feel like I'm going to disappoint somebody, or somebody's not going to follow through with what they said they were going to do. Then I'm going to overcompensate and do more in the relationship. And what happens is the other person starts to do less, because it's an innate balancing mechanism. And so, you know, the consciousness means talking about those dynamics so that you can create more of a balance. So each person there's more flow in the give and take.
Yes. And and again, just like everything, it always goes back to balance. And I think that, you know, I'd like to leave with just this parting thought, because it was such wisdom that I got from my therapist many years ago. If you are a chronic overgiver, like me, and I'm a recovering overgiver, what I know is that ultimately that leads to resentment, which ultimately will destroy, you know, a relationship. And so my former therapist said it like this. He said, Lydia, this is what you do. You will give, and then you put a chip in your pocket. You know, you'll overgive, give more than the other person, and you'll put a chip in your pocket. And then you'll overgive and you put a chip in your pocket. And one day your pockets will be so full of chips that you just go, okay, I'm out. And you throw the chips on the table and you leave. And that was my pattern for a really long time. I would overgive until one day I reached the magic number where I would go, I have earned my way out of this. I have given enough. Goodbye. And I would just cut it off. So, you know, everybody. It is okay to disappoint people, and over giving is not helpful to you, and it's not helpful to anybody else, right?
That's right.
So write that down. I feel like that's the way that we should end every episode. Instead of let's see what happens next, I think that what we need to say is write that down.
I love it.
I know. Write that down. Okay.
Or they can just play it again.
Well, we have this recording. I have wanted people to record what I say for so long. I'm teasing. And here you have it, everybody. Just replay the episode or write it down.
Write that down.
You've been listening to True and Unpolished, the podcast. Write that down. And let's see what happens next.